And that number one option too, not as much about injuries, but because of the production lost.
Lily Meister wins the tip for the Hoosiers, and we are ready for this Sunday matinee game. Jules Lamondola in her second straight start has it for IU as she feeds Garzone.
Yeah, right away, not a huge surprise, but Maine coming out in some sort of zone.
As Chloe Moore McNeil takes it all the way to the rack for two.
Chloe Moore McNeil's going to need to be big. We talked about where the offensive production is going to come from without Mackenzie Holmes and Sarah Scalia both leaving. I know Indiana fans are tired of hearing about that, but Yarden Garzone's been big in stepping up in that number one role as well.
Gallego off the bounce gets swatted by Meister. And here come the Hoosiers in transition. Lamondola to Garzone. As Indiana swings it around, Moore McNeil open in the corner. She sinks it.
Two really good looks for Chloe Moore McNeil to start. Maine calls a timeout. Indiana dissecting this zone easily. You could tell they knew it was coming in the scout, and they're making quick passes.
Amy Vashon calls a timeout 55 seconds into this first quarter as it's Chloe Moore McNeil 5, Maine 0 so far, Ben.
Yeah, like I said, it's just the Indiana being prepared for that zone. The first possession, I really liked Chloe Moore McNeil attacking the baseline. They made a couple of passes. Too many people on the perimeter for Maine to guard with that zone. Same thing on the other end, except Chloe Moore McNeil had enough time and felt confident enough to knock down the three.
And hitting those threes will be so big for the Hoosiers. They're only shooting 27% from deep this year after leading the nation with a 40% three-point percentage a season ago. And Chloe Moore McNeil is one of those players who has struggled at 28%, as now we look at Terry Moore and the Hoosiers in the huddle.
Yeah, that three-point percentage, I think, is one of the things that you're happy about and confident in for a Hoosier fan, that it struggled. Usually those are the things that you know they can shoot the three ball pretty well. Water kind of finds its level as the season will go on. You'd like to think that regression to the mean, that three-point percentage will improve. And that's been a big reason they haven't been able to score in a few of these games so far. You look at that Harvard game especially. But Terry Morin has her group ready to go. Two early losses to Harvard and Butler. Usually, though, after a loss, Indiana and Terry Morin's tenure has been a reckon to beat.
You'll notice Indiana in that huddle in their home crimson uniforms. Those are for ALS Awareness Night, so they're usually, of course, in those cream uniforms at home, but instead they're wearing the crimson. As we look at Amy Vashon in Maine, 5-time American East Coach of the Year. She's taken this team to the tournament 3 times so far in her tenure.
Yeah, she has become the Maine women's basketball program, and she's gotten a lot of good players through her program, but she's been consistent with what they've tried to do. They run that defense. They're one of the defenses that likes to run a zone a lot, and she said this season she wants her teams to take a lot of threes, a lot of layups. Only layups, only threes. That's the kind of approach they're taking. A lot of the basketball world, college basketball and professional level with the WNBA is heading that way. She's
modeled that. She cited Carl Smesko, who recently jumped from Florida Gulf Coast to Atlanta, and Lynn Robbins, who went for Utah to the LA Sparks. As we look at Indiana's offensive struggles, I mean, every number across the board pretty much, Ben, this team is significantly worse than last year.
Yeah, and some of the field goal percentages, like I said, not only the three-point percentage, but overall field goal percentage, is you like to think those are going to come up at some point, and with it, Indiana will start playing a little better.
So far, the Hoosiers are 2 for 2 from the field, and they lead this game 5-zip as Boardman has it for the Black Bears. Hands off to Olivia Rockwood. Rockwood looking for Boardman again. Meister all over her. Back out to Rockwood. She'll fire away and drill the three.
Yeah, that's what Maine's going to have to do. It's going to have to be quick catch and shoot because Indiana's defense is swarming, and they have the height advantage as well.
Moore McNeil has the first 5 points and the ball. Cross-court pass to Garzone. Now here's Shay Chesky, the Penn State transfer, back to Garzone for the tray.
Yeah, I don't know what – this is a Maine team that has run the zone a lot this season, but it looks like there's a lot of miscommunication up top. That's 2 open threes now on back-to-back possessions.
Here's Boardman with the basketball. The give to Rockwood. Looked like she may have traveled. No call, and it's back to Boardman. Sarah Talon driving on Chloe Moore McNeil, and Lamondola forces the jump ball.
There's not a lot going on off ball right now for Maine's offense. Last possession, she's got a really quick catch and shoot from Rockwood. And that's the only open look that they've gotten. They want to look down low to Bornman, but again, Meister has that height advantage on her. It's going to be tough to get anything over her.
The possession arrow keeps it with the Black Bears after the tie-up. The inbound to Bornman, over to J.C. Christopher, freshly into the game. 3 on the shot clock. I don't know if Bornman realizes it. She's got to hurry, and they say she doesn't get it off.
Yeah, that was a close one. Good idea from Bornman. Just might have been a half-second late trying to get to the basket. I think that's a good sign, though, if you're Maine. She was able to get that step on Meister. And I think that's how you beat Indiana on the offensive side of the ball, is just to draw Meister out a little bit.
Maine will certainly try to do that. We'll see if they do so successfully. Here's Chloe Moore McNeil trying her second 3, and she's 2 for 2 from deep and already with 8 points.
I know the three-point percentage on the year says, maybe you can leave a couple of these players open, but you have to look at what they've done their whole career. You have to be there at the catch, before the catch, and Maine just has not been doing that. There's been way too much room. Rockwood got there late, but it was too late.
Moore McNeil shot 41% from deep last season. As that shot, another deflection and a block by Meister into the hands of Bornman. 2 on the shot clock, and inside, Sarah Hodgson gets it to fall. It's Maine playing this high zone, as we have mentioned. They try to feed it inside to Meister, and there's a turnover.
Yeah, it's the first time Indiana's tried to get it inside on this zone. That's the strong part of the zone. It's going to be tougher for Indiana to beat Maine down low. If you're still hot, 3 for 3 from 3, you might as well keep shooting them.
Bornman with the basketball over to Hodgson. Back to Bornman. IU deciding to double her down low. Olivia Rockwood, shot clock again dwindling for the Black Bears. I don't know if Rockwood knows it, and that's blocked by LaMendola.
Yeah, Indiana's defense has been so consistent. And there has to be something off ball. We talked about all Maine wants to do is either layups or three-pointers, but it just seems like it's either Rockwood or Bornman just dribbling on one side and nobody's doing anything on the other side. The Hoosiers are trying to do a lot of ISO ball, and that's not going to work against this Indiana defense.
The Hoosiers having a block party so far, Ben. 4 blocks in under 4 minutes.
4 blocks, 3 three-pointers made. I mean, that is the recipe to success, something that we just hadn't seen a ton from Indiana so far in the year.
Moore McNeil trying to navigate the zone. Garzone feeds LaMendola in the corner. She hits from deep.
Maine is going to crash on any pass that's anywhere near the paint, and that gives you just enough time to find anyone. You look at this Indiana team, you got 4 players who could really shoot the ball that are on the floor right now.
And of those 4, LaMendola is the one you probably feel most comfortable leaving open, but she made them pay for it.
Shea Chesky, who, just talent-wise, other than Garzone, might be the best three-point shooter on this team, hasn't even got a chance yet.
Olivia Rockwood with the shot clock winding down again. Here's Caroline Dotsey, who just had 26 points and a 5th block for Indiana. Here they come in transition. Chesky streaking through the lane, can't get it to fall. Back the other way, here's Christopher. This Maine team plays at one of the slowest tempos in the nation.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. I understand what Indiana's going to try to do, and I don't hate Chesky taking that up. Even if that's something that against most teams you don't necessarily have the numbers for, this is a Maine team that doesn't play well in transition.
Hodgson, however, knocks down her second bucket, first 3 of the game for her. And Maine still within 6.
The three-point ball is the only really thing that can keep them into the game right now with the level that Indiana's shooting on it.
Garzone will try from the corner now, and the Hoosiers just cannot miss.
They're getting a lot of room, but still, that's not to discredit how Indiana's shooting so far. We knew at some point that was going to break out a little bit and regress towards the mean, and starting to see it right here. They can be a dangerous team when they start knocking these down.
Indiana has made all 5 of their three-point attempts. Here's Hodgson, who has an early 5 points but couldn't get that J to fall. Garzone in transition. Chesky thought about it. Now the Hoosiers swinging around this zone. Chesky's open. Now she'll take the 3. Overcooked that one, and Hodgson comes away with it.
Yeah, just a bad pass, trying to get that rush a little bit.
Quickly up the floor comes Christopher, and she is short on that attempt. Chesky has it for the Hoosiers. They swing it to Garzone. Back to Moore McNeil, now Chesky. inside. Your zone can't hit the jumper, but a foul after Meister pulled down that board.
I like the way Indiana's fought so far. Chloe Moore McNeil bringing the energy too is, I think, the biggest thing right now. Everyone, it looks like on Indiana, is just feeding off that energy. He's going to get a nice, well-deserved break right now. Stirring the pot for Indiana.
So the Hoosiers, with 3.5 minutes left to play in this first quarter, lead by 9. They inbound to LaMendola, and she's open under the hoop.
Those underneath out-of-bounds plays for Terry Moore, and that's what she's known for, and gets LaMendola set up with a nice, easy layup right there. Sometimes that's a hard thing to adjust for when you play a zone, but then you go to man when a team's taking underneath out-of-bounds. It can confuse the defense.
We talked about LaMendola making her second career start in place of Sydney Parrish, who has a knee injury. Riley Stark will have more on that later. Meanwhile, on the other end, it's Gallego getting her first bucket of the game.
Yeah, Maine's making some nice buckets. I mean, they're making some tough baskets down low. They're fighting through contact a little bit too. This is a team we talked about. They are, undersized against an Indiana squad. But
yeah,
this Indiana team is going to be tough to beat if they're shooting like this.
Indeed, this Maine team, as we talked about a little bit, missing Adriana Smith. She's out for the year with a knee injury. She was the AEC Player of the Year a couple of years ago, and while she's not the tallest, she really makes them pay inside. But once again, getting inside is the Black Bears with Sarah Talon, and they've made this a 7-point game.
They play 4 guards almost exclusively, Maine does. And what that does is that just draws some of the bigger players out for Indiana. Lily Meister and Caroline Striplin right here specifically. Striplin makes her pay on the other end, though.
Nice little dish from Lexus Bargesser, setting up Striplin, the Tennessee transfer, for the deuce.
Yeah, I really like Striplin this year. Everything in the offseason was about, okay, Mackenzie Holmes is gone. How does Lily Meister step up? It doesn't have to be one player who takes over that production down low. Striplin being a little bit of help there is huge, too.
Hodgson knocks down the 3, as Maine has now made 3 from beyond the arc. Bargesser with the ball for Indiana. She returned in that Bahamas trip after missing the first 4 games with a foot injury. And it gives Indiana another ball handler as a foul is called up top. But Bargesser, really the backup point guard. Indiana didn't have much support for Chloe Moore McNeil in those first 4 games when she was out.
Well, I think especially when you look at the Harvard game, I think what you saw was Chloe Moore McNeil just looked gassed. I mean, she had to play so many minutes in that game. And there's a difference between playing minutes, as a 2 through 5, but being the point guard, it makes you a little more exhausted. You have to do so much more in terms of getting the ball up the floor.
Bargesser drives, finds Striplin again in the lane, and she will have a chance for a 3-point play. Strong finish by Caroline Striplin.
And early when Indiana was trying to get it down low, Maine was swarming, and it seemed like Indiana was trying to make quick passes that were getting picked off or at least tipped. Now they're being a little more patient, and the fact that Maine has to respect the 3-point a little more. They're late to that pass right there to Striplin, and just a little bit of contact. I haven't seen a whole lot of contact in this first quarter. Striplin able to finish through it.
That foul called on Sarah Hodgson, her first. 3rd team foul for Maine. Indiana has not yet been called for a foul, as Striplin completes the 3-point play.
That's something Morin's going to be real happy about. They had foul trouble a little bit in those first couple of losses as well. They're playing very clean defense here in the first quarter. Still, I think 15 points is maybe a little more than Terry Morin would like to give up, especially to a Maine team that struggled offensively. But they've hit a couple of contested threes that's helped with that.
Boardman with the basketball against Henna Sandvik. Now down to Caroline Dotze. Dotze hits the mid-range J, and she is coming off a career-high 26-point performance against Stonehill Bend. Before that, she had never even scored 10 in a game.
Yeah, Adriana Smith, that injury, Smith is going to be that player that really leads you in scoring. She's your clear-cut star. Now you have to replace her with a bunch of different pieces.
Dotze looking to be one of those pieces, as the Chesky 3 is no good. And here comes Esther Blaunfelt. Maine has made this a 7-point game, as Boardman has it on the baseline. Boardman looking to attack Lily Meister, deflected by Bargesser, who dives on the ground for it. It'll be another tie-up, this time going to the Hoosiers.
Yeah, nothing gets an Assembly Hall crowd on the feet like a player diving on the floor for a jump ball. The effort level I think we've seen has been better this game as opposed to the Butler or the Harvard losses. That's something I really liked in Atlanta. So I think that's one of the biggest things that's improved. You beat a pretty good Columbia team, and then that Baylor win, you hope sparks something moving forward.
Once again, the Hoosiers made the championship in the battle for Atlantis, losing to North Carolina 6 days ago. As here comes Chloe Moore McNeil. Nice cut by Bargesser, and she'll head to the charity stripe.
Yeah, Maine's falling asleep on some of these back cuts. Indiana's doing a nice job of getting to the spots in the zone. There's some of the weak spots of the zone, but there's also been some times when, a Maine defender should have been there. And Bargesser exposed that again.
Bargesser so far this year shooting 83%, 5 of 6 at the line in the Bahamas, as she misses that one. But they have really cleaned up her jump shot routine and her form. After last year, she was just 56% at the line. And we'll see if it pays off in the long term. However, she goes 0 for 2 there, but Chesky, the smallest player on the court, gets the offensive rebound.
Once again, it's that effort in that fight.
Under 10 for the Hoosiers to work with. Bargesser to Moore McNeil. Garzone has 2 to work with, fires it up, and that's too strong as we end this first quarter with Indiana leading 24-17. So the Hoosiers, but it was good to hear them this morning that it should not be too long with her on the sideline, Ben.
Yeah, first and foremost, that's the good news. But you saw it was a little tough adjusting last year. It took them some time to adjust after Parrish got injured.
Meanwhile, Maine comes right out of the break and scores with Sarah Talon. This is just a 5-point game. You mentioned it earlier. These two teams played a season ago, and that was a close game at Maine. The Hoosiers won that game by 8. As Meister forces up the shot, can't get it to fall, and it'll be out of bounds off of the Black Bears.
Well, because this Maine defense runs this zone so much, they do such a good job rotating and adjusting down low. That's one of the things that they didn't do well in the first couple of possessions, and Indiana just got some open threes off of it.
Chesky gets it off the inbound to Bargesser. Now Moore McNeil, who had 8 first quarter points, and she's now got 10.
It's a really good move for Moore McNeil. I don't think the defender realized how far she was from the basket. And Moore McNeil just has the IQ and knows where she is on the floor at all times.
Here's Talon after scoring that last bucket for Maine, hounded by Bargesser. Boardman driving on Meister, and this time she gets it up and over the center.
Again, Boardman just has to draw Meister outside, and every time she's done that, she just needs a couple of dribbles to get around her. She doesn't need a ton of room. She can finish through tight margins. That's what she did there.
Chesky over to Bargesser. Garzone whips it back to Chesky. And Indiana finds Meister under the hoop for a deuce.
Quick passes, quick passes, quick passes. That's what they did in the first few possessions. And nobody holding the ball or dribbling that ball for that long. It lets that zone set in.
Lily Meister has taken over as IU starting center after all-time program leading scorer Mackenzie Holmes graduated. And Meister averaging a little bit shy of 11 points per game in that role so far this year. Here's Paula Gallego turning it over to Bargesser. Hoosiers looking to push. Chesky over to Yarden Garzone, back to Shea Chesky, and it's almost taken away by Blaunfeld.
That's one thing this Maine team does well. They're very quick, too, and they anticipate these passes. They're not afraid to be over-aggressive. They're okay if they get beat because they took a chance.
As we look at these teams' averages in the second quarter, IU's best quarter is the second. Maine's worst has been the second so far this year, Ben.
Yeah, only 11 points in the second quarter. Coaches, you'll hear them say all the time, the middle 8 are the most important minutes of the game. The last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 of the second half. And some teams don't just struggle with that.
So far in this quarter, it's 4-4 after Chesky missed that 3. So Maine is keeping pace, but we'll see if they can keep it up. Here's Dotsey. working against Lily Meister, up to Olivia Rockwood. Those two play a little give and go. Rockwood steps into a long ball. No good, but Dotsie tracking down the O board, going back up with it. Looked like there was some contact, no call. Maine still keeps possession with Gallego.
Yeah, they're letting them play with it a little bit. Indiana still no fouls in this quarter.
They swing it around. Dotsie will try from deep, just short on that attempt.
I do like to see that Dotsie's got a little more confidence. I mean, that's obviously going to happen after you have a 26-point game. Clearly the best game of your career by a wide margin. And some of those shots she's taken, it seems like she might have been afraid to take those before this game.
There she is getting the deflection on the other end. And that's what, when we talked to Amy Vachon, Maine head coach, earlier this week, Ben, she said, with Caroline Dotsie, we can just get her consistent defensively. She'll get a lot more playing time and be a kind of a two-way factor for us. Chesky has it for the Hoosiers. Now to Garzone at the Big Ten logo. She pivots and takes the mid-range J. Left it flat.
Yeah, it seems like anytime Maine can get Indiana to settle and take a lot of time off that shot clock, they're staying solid. That's what that zone does. There are teams whose whole offense is to beat you down if you're playing man defense, take shots at the end of the shot clock. It doesn't happen as much with the zone.
Hoosiers force the turnover and find Chesky open in the corner. And that rims out as Shea Chesky is now 0 for 4 from deep today and 0 of 5 from the field. But she comes on the other end and almost gets the steal and runs into a manager down there. Nice hustle by Chesky after missing the three all the way in the opposite corner.
That was good hustle. A lot of times what you see is players will miss a shot like that, and they really feel like they have to go make a play, be a hero on the other end. A lot of time that backfires. A lot of times you'll see an aggressive foul, but this time a clean play by Chesky. Almost had that too.
Both teams in a bit of a scoring drought. 2:28 for Indiana, almost 3 minutes for Maine. Caroline Dotsie looks to change that, but she can't. And Chloe Moore McNeil rips it away. It's a 3-on-1. Moore McNeil over to LaMendola. LaMendola can't get the shot to fall. As a beautifully played 3-on-1 by Caroline Boardman.
That was amazing. I think the pass from Moore McNeil came just a little too late. She tried to do the no look. She looked at the player on the left. I forget who it was, but LaMendola was sitting right there on the right. Hoosiers keep possession. Down to Striplin. Caroline Striplin trying to go through Boardman, and it's a travel. Yeah, I've been impressed with Boardman defensively today. Said it a few times. She doesn't necessarily have the size of Striplin and Meister on the other end, but you can tell she's really tough and she's really strong, not letting Meister and Striplin gain a lot of ground in the post. Boardman at just 5'10", while both Striplin and Meister are 6'3". Here comes Caroline Dotsie with the reverse layup. Beautiful. That's a nice little move by Dotsie. Heard the footsteps behind her, needed that extra, using the rim for protection. This Indiana offense has missed their last 4 shots. Striplin looks to change that. She can't. And then she commits the foul after Dotsie corralled the board. Yeah, this has just been another one of those issues for Indiana. It's not a huge issue, but you look at the field goal percentage, there are a lot of bunnies that Indiana's missing. Not necessarily bunnies, but some of those like 75% shots, you know, that a season ago that they were so consistent at. IU shooting just 47% on 2 so far this year. Meanwhile, we see Striplin come out for Henna Sandvik. So that means Yarden Garzone is the center right now for the Hoosiers. Talon's 3 is off the mark. We see Dotsie again, but has that one tied up by Garzone. Possession keeps it here with Maine. Hoosiers lead it by 5, but struggling to score over the last 3.5 minutes. Maine keeping it close. It's a 5-point game here on Big Ten Plus.
We are back in Assembly Hall where the Hoosiers are beating Maine at the moment, but we can't talk about Maine without talking about Mackenzie Holmes, the Maine native. She's from Gorham, Maine, about 2 hours outside of the University of Maine's campus. I talked to Amy Vachon about her earlier this week. She said she doesn't know her personally, but she's known her growing up, being from the area. Maine's a small town, and she's proud of her. Although she didn't expect her to be the All-American player that she turned out to be, she spent 5 years at Indiana, became the all-time program leading scorer, and is now taking a year as a graduate assistant before joining the Seattle Storm in the spring at training. But Amy said she's proud of her. She couldn't not claim her as a Mainer herself. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Riley. And Mackenzie Holmes, over the 5 years she was here, really made this her program. Now IU trying to figure out how to navigate and operate without her. On the court, that is.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing to remember. It's not that, obviously it's going to hurt a little bit. What it's also going to do is it's just going to take time to figure out what kind of team it is and where your strengths are. You've relied on one player for a lot of these last few years.
And Holmes was such a stalwart at center, and right now we're seeing Yarden Garzone, who is usually a wing for this IU team, play center.
Yeah, this is interesting. I think if there's one team to do it against, it makes sense for Maine. They're a smaller team, and they play 4 guards. Garzone, I'd like to see her. She's very physical. She's one of those wings that I think can pull off playing the 5. She's got a lot of height, too.
There she is stretching out the defense, but she can't hit the 3. And then Sandvik is called for the foul, reaching over the back.
And she can make those, too, even though she didn't make it right there. But I think Zion, if I'm not mistaken, they had one earlier this quarter. Only the second foul for Indiana in this game, and we have 4:19 to go.
Both of them have been on those over the back reaching,
right?
Not even on really the defensive end for the Hoosiers. Dotsey will pull up right in the face of Garzone and sink it.
I'm telling you, all Dotsey needed was a little bit of confidence and then a little bit of room right there off the dribble. Yeah, some players shoot better off the dribble, and I think Dotsey, she had a nice reverse on the other end. If she gets going with a couple of dribbles, she's looked fine defensively today. That's what Vachon was worried about.
She hit 5 threes against Stonehill, and that was her first one today. Driving and cutting through the lane is Chloe Moore McNeil for 2.
Yeah, Moore McNeil is so much quicker than anyone else on the floor right now. And all it needs is that first step.
That broke a nearly 4.5-minute scoring drought for the Hoosiers. Hodgson to Dotsey. Dotsey looking for Hodgson, back door. Ball is loose again. And I think Hodgson was touching it while sitting out of bounds.
Yeah, I think she was on the line right there. Once again, Indiana getting in passing lanes, being anticipatory. They're anticipating what Maine's going to do. And I've liked how this Indiana team hasn't been afraid to get on the floor. Yeah, Maine as well. It's just a lot of the 50-50 balls are bouncing Indiana's way.
Chesky brings it ahead for IU, now to Moore McNeil. LaMendola with it, up to Sandvik. Chesky kicks it to Moore McNeil. Those two play catch, and then it's deflected out of bounds by Talon.
Yeah, the way to beat this 1-3-1 zone, what Indiana did early was get the ball on the baseline. We saw Chloe Moore McNeil had an open 3 and then had an open baseline drive. There's so much attention up top, though, that they're making it tough to even get the ball to the baseline with their hands in passing lanes, but they get it right there.
Chesky does have it on the baseline. She finds Sandvik up top. Garzone will try from deep again. This one falls.
When you get the ball on the baseline, it gets the 1-3-1 all out of sorts and leaves someone right there where a defender usually is in that zone, but they have to adjust a little bit, and Garzone gets left open. You cannot leave her open with too much time.
Here's Caroline Boardman with the rock. Trying to feed Gallego. Ball is loose, and the Hoosiers recover. And then a blocking foul is called, or no, a foul is called on the other end. That goes against Maine, against Paula Gallego.
That's an interesting call. It looked like she was just on the floor, and she tripped over, and we'll take a look at it again. Goes to the ground, and
I guess that's an illegal screen?
I haven't seen that call much. I guess I haven't seen that a ton. She was just laying on the floor, and maybe you blame, I'm not sure who had the ball right there, but whoever it was drove right past her. And then, yeah, I guess you can count that as an illegal screen. I don't know.
It's one you usually see just let go because everybody's on the ground.
Yeah.
But it is called a foul. The Hoosiers have it. Garzone tries again. Well flat on that shot. And it comes back to Maine out of bounds.
Indiana's being really aggressive on the offensive board, and credit Maine a lot for keeping them off of it. A couple of fouls we talked about, and Juliana Lamandola hit the floor pretty hard there. We've talked so much about the Maine zone and all its stereotypes, but the number one stereotype about a zone is it's tough to rebound out of it, but Maine's done an exceptionally well job doing that today.
As they find a nice cutter, J.C. Christopher straight down the lane for two. Here's Chloe Moore McNeil up to Lamandola. They swing it around now, Chesky. And she draws the blocking foul on Sarah Talon.
Yeah, again, these Maine players are just a step too late. Chesky getting into the paint, all she could do was make contact out of position.
Chesky had her best game as a Hoosier a week ago in the Bahamas, scoring 34 against Baylor. She's in her first year with IU after playing 2 seasons at Penn State. On the block, here's Garzone, and she gets called for the charge.
I don't love that call, Zion. You know what? I'm a post player myself, but I don't. Maybe a little bit lean of the shoulder.
It was that last little dip, Ben. The first one they let her get away with, and she did it again, and they called the offensive foul.
But again, my problem with the call is the first one they let her get away with only because the defender didn't go to the floor. It's all about falling in that situation. I understand you got to call that.
Rockwood has it for Maine, but throws it away to Bargesser. Bargesser in transition. A lot of contact, no call, and it'll go back to the Black Bears.
Boy, when a team is that low in pace of play, that slow, they're one of the bottom 3 teams in the country in pace of play, Maine is. Usually they're not very good in transition defense or offense. The transition defense for Maine has actually been exceptionally good today.
Neither team has a fast break point.
Yeah. And for Maine, they don't really, I can't remember much transition for Maine at all. They haven't forced a ton of turnovers today.
Yeah, just 4 turnovers so far for the Hoosiers, who are averaging over 17 so far this year. As we're in this final minute now of the first half, here's Sarah Talon. Talon squeezes the pass into Gallego. She wasn't quite ready for it. Now here's Christopher up top to Talon. Talon with the shot clock dwindling, has that one rim out, and then a jump ball is called, heading back over to the Hoosiers.
The only way Maine is getting open shots is beating defenders off the dribble, which they actually are doing pretty well today. Some of those passes, though, Indiana is playing tight on everybody because they know everybody on this Maine team can shoot.
You see the tie up there. 3.6 separates the shot clock and game clock here near the end of this half. As Indiana will take as much time as they can, trying to make this the last real possession of the half. Garzone has it now for the Hoosiers. Over to Chloe Moore McNeil. Back to Garzone. 3 on the shot clock. Moore McNeil has to put it up, and she nails it. And that is how this first half will end. Chloe Moore McNeil with an early 15 points, and IU leads it by 8.
Pick your poison with this Indiana team is something that Coach Vachon said, and they said they wanted to let Indiana shoot a couple more threes than they have, and that's what they've done. It hasn't necessarily paid off.
So it'll be Maine ball to start the second half. Esther Blaunfeld gives it off to Paula Gallego. Now here comes Sarah Talon right to the rack.
Nice set play by Vachon, getting an open look for Talon.
Again, both of these teams were NCAA tournament teams last season. Indiana went to the Sweet 16 before losing to the undefeated national champions, South Carolina, and Maine lost in the first round at Ohio State. Here's Lamandola going through the paint, finding her big Lily Meister for 2.
Really nice play by LaMendola. Get into the middle of that zone, and that pass just barely over the defender's head. Meister had trouble with it initially, but nice job staying calm down low.
Caroline Boardman has it for Maine on the other end. Gallego will trigger. Off the heel, grabbed by Yarden Garzone. As Garzone throws the wayward pass, and a good guy, Ben, man, picks up the ball, does a couple in and out dribbles.
I have to get a touch every game. And I underestimated how difficult the carpet would be to dribble on. I didn't get the bounce I would have liked.
Ben, we played a 40-minute game here a few weeks ago, and you hit, what, 4 threes in that?
I hit 4, but I don't want to take full credit for one. I banked one in, and I don't like that. True shooters don't like bank threes.
You didn't call that?
No, I didn't call it.
Garzone comes away with the steal. IU looking to push again, and Chloe Moore McNeil is fouled by Gallego.
Interested to see Indiana, try to take advantage of how slow Maine plays, and they're not great in transition. But I was impressed with the Maine transition defense in that first half. So we'll see if Indiana can take care of the ball a little bit better in transition. It's not about taking care of the ball, really, but just finishing better, I think, is the biggest thing.
Neither team has a fast break point in this game, which plays into Maine's hands. The Hoosiers find Chase Chesky, and she finally drills one after missing her first 5 shots from the field.
Boy, was that Baylor awesome for Indiana fans to see her finally get going. You knew she was one of the pieces that Indiana needed to get a little more confidence. She had 34 against Baylor. Maybe that opens some things up.
Here's Olivia Rockwood finding Boardman. Now to Gallego. Gallego drives baseline, and she stepped on the line.
This is a Maine team that subs a lot. They don't necessarily go too deep into their bench, but they have very frequent substitutions, and it's because they have such a deep team, such a balanced team up top, even with the injuries of Adriana Smith. And still able to have a lot of different contributors.
Indiana with their largest lead today, tying their largest lead. They led 19-8 earlier as they look to extend upon that. Moore McNeil to Chesky. Out to Jules LaMendola from deep. She puts it in, her second of the day, and IU is ahead by 14.
Yeah, LaMendola showing some confidence from beyond the arc. We talked about that's not 100%, her biggest thing, but she has the ability to knock them down. And the more different players that Indiana can shoot them, and then the more that helps.
And another one of those back cuts gets Maine a bucket with Blaunfeld. Meister seals her defender off and puts it in.
Yeah, good positioning by Meister, and good job just barely getting that pass through. Dotsie got a little too over-aggressive. For only forcing 4 turnovers, Maine has been very aggressive defensively. It's backfired on them a couple times.
Hodgson over to Dotsie. Now Dotsie will isolate herself, but finding Talon. Talon attacks Meister, loses the ball, and Chloe Moore McNeil scoops it up. Moore McNeil over to Chesky, into the corner. LaMendola will try another. That one off the mark, and here come the Black Bears. Dotsie quickly up the floor. She'll take the baseline, Jay, flat. Moore McNeil on the fast break. Looked like she got contact, no call, but on the putback, it's the Lily Meister.
Yeah, credit Meister with the finish, but that was a really nice job. That was a nice sequence by LaMendola. She missed the 3 on the other end, got back, her defender was streaking, and she was able to beat her step for step down the floor, make Dotsie miss a mid-range jumper. And then was the ball handler carrying the ball up the floor on this possession. LaMendola playing some really good minutes for Indiana, obviously being inserted in the starting lineup with Parrish being out. And she is proving why.
And we see on that play, Lily Meister using the Hoosier size advantage after the missed layup, just crashing in over everybody and getting the putback bucket and the 3-point play. 17-point lead now for IU, their largest today. Hodgson. Now to Gallego. Diego shaking and baking into the corner to Blaunfeld, right back to her. Diego over to Dotsie. She thought about a tray. Now she'll drive in. Left that shot short. You can see the Hoosiers pushing the pace a lot more to start this second half, Vin.
Yeah, and I think they finally started to wear Maine down a little bit right there. And every single time that they've got the ball in the half court, the ball's not staying in anyone's hands for too long. You saw another nice job right there, getting Meister an open look because they're getting Maine out of position defensively.
Indiana's lead has ballooned to 19, their largest of the day, as they lead Maine 51-32 here in the third quarter on Big Ten Plus. Indiana leads by 19 in the third quarter over Maine, and Chloe Moore McNeil has been a big reason why.
Yeah, she's doing it in a bunch of different ways for Indiana. An underrated part of the game for her, she's played some really nice defense, but knocking down the three early on, that just got her going from all different areas. You saw the defense right there getting a tip. And that three-point shot 42% from three a season ago. The numbers haven't quite been there this year from beyond the arc. And sometimes all it takes is one game to get you going for a season.
Moore McNeil has 15 points in this ball game. The fifth-year senior has been doing it all, as you mentioned, on both ends.
I mean, her plate is as full as it could be this year. I know, a lot of the production leaving comes from the paint and Mackenzie Holmes, but as a leader, you're asked to step up in a bunch of different ways. And she's going to get blamed for some of the things that Indiana does, but I think, she's played such a big role in anything Indiana does positively as well.
Meanwhile, Maine trying to end this 7-0 IU run. It's a 15-2 run when you extend it out toward the start of this quarter, and the Hoosiers get another stop and turnover. Here comes Chesky, knocked down by Blaunfeld from behind. So Indiana will possess it here as we do head to another timeout right after that, as the Hoosiers lead by 19 still here from Assembly Hall. Indiana leads Maine by 19 in both teams' first game since Thanksgiving. And for more about what these teams did over the holiday, we toss it to Riley Stark.
Yeah, guys. Happy late Thanksgiving. Both these teams, unfortunately, were pretty busy over the holiday break. Indiana not getting back from the Bahamas until late Monday night into Tuesday morning. And then Maine playing at Stonehill on Tuesday the 26th. That means both teams spent this holiday together. For Maine, they went over to Coach Vachon's house where she cooked up a nice Thanksgiving meal for them. Except I did hear she did burn the sweet potatoes, totally an accident, but I'm sure the team doesn't like sweet potatoes that much anyway. And then for Indiana, this Parrish family was gracious enough to open up their home where most of the team was able to make it up to Fishers, Indiana and enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday together up there. So both teams mid-season, unfortunately not able to go home, but I'm sure it will be worth it once conference play picks up and they were able to spend this time practicing and bonding together. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Riley. It's really nice to hear Sydney Parrish, living just about an hour away from here, letting the team stay over her house for Thanksgiving, and of course, Coach Vachon having everybody over. And yeah, apparently the sweet potato casserole did not come out how it was supposed to, unfortunately, there.
Well, I'm sad. You know why? 362 days till the next Thanksgiving. But it's good to these teams spent some quality time together. That's one of the hardest things about playing basketball as compared to other sports at the college and professional level is, two of the biggest family holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, you're going to be playing, you're going to be practicing over those holidays. And I think more than most teams in college basketball, I think both these teams are two teams with extremely good chemistry. And it's shown on the court so far, especially for Indiana taking care of the ball.
Yeah, these aren't teams with a lot of transfers. Yeah. So most of these players have now been together for 2, 3, 4 years. And like you said, the chemistry is there with both teams. Indiana leads by 20 now as Garzone can't hit that three, and it's last touched by the Hoosiers.
Alexis Bargesser applying a little bit of pressure, and this is Maine. We talked about only 4 turnovers for Indy, and I haven't seen a ton from Maine either. 7 or 8 at this point.
For the first time today, we see Edon Schluss in the game for Maine, 45 in the paint. We'll see what she can do in her minutes. She played 8 minutes at Stonehill. Boardman has it right now for the Black Bears. Over to Sarah Hodgson. She fires with the shot clock dwindling. Too strong there, and the Hoosiers come away with it with Meister.
Yeah, I feel like Indiana's defense has improved a little bit, almost because they're being less aggressive, I want to say, closing out on three-point shooters and being able to provide or being able to defend off the dribble a little better. Maine has just not been able to get around Indiana defenders like they did in the first.
When we talked to Indiana assistant coach Size, he said today, for our offense to get going, it has to start defensively. She said the defense feels the offense. And right now in this third quarter, it's been 17-5 IU. Mainly because of those defensive efforts. Bargesser tries to find more McNeil, but it's stolen away by Gallego. Gallego not ready to really attack in transition, so they go into a half-court set where Bargesser is tabbed for a foul.
Yeah, it's felt like Indiana's won games in the last couple of years, especially in Terry Morin's tenure with their defense. You know the capability their offense has, but when it gets down to it, a lot of late game defensive stops. This team's pretty good defensively in the clutch, and sometimes the most important part of it is in the middle of the game. Talk about that middle eight. Indiana's defense has been spectacular. The last 4 minutes of the first half and first 4 minutes of the second half.
Hoosiers do give up a bucket there, and then on the other end, a backcourt violation over and back as Yarden Garzone was still in the backcourt when that pass was thrown to her.
Yeah, back-to-back possessions now with turnovers for Indiana. Those are the kinds of things that are going to happen, but that one definitely is unforced of a turnover as it gets.
It's been over 2 minutes since IU scored here. They still lead by 18. Here's J.C. Christopher with it for Maine. Christopher swings it to Schluss, and she'll fire away. Undercooked that shot, and LaMendola pulls it away for the Hoosiers. Here comes more McNeil. Shut off nicely. Maine back in that zone. Moore McNeil has it in the middle. Moore McNeil open on the left wing, and she puts another one home.
See, that's the thing I love about Chloe Moore McNeil. She gets hot like that, but then she doesn't take a ton of, heat checks and ill-advised shots. She's someone who stays calm no matter, the way she plays, you never know if she's 0 for 11 or if she's 8 for 11. And that's one of the best things I love about Moore McNeil's game.
Today she's got 18 points and has made all 4 of her three-point attempts. As a great defensive play by Henna Sandvik, just stepping on the baseline, however. And she'll exit the game for Lily Meister, but look at this block.
That's staying with her the whole way.
That is textbook defense. 8 on the clock for Maine to work with. And they try to get into Boardman, stolen away by Meister. And Boardman now has it back up. But she barely grazes the rim on that jumper, and it goes out of bounds. Back to IU.
Yeah, offensively for Maine, down 21 right now, nearing the end of the third quarter. The only way to really get back into this game is by knocking down a few three-pointers. They're not getting those kinds of looks though. And they shot at 4 for 11 from 3 in the first half, but they aren't getting those same looks.
Nice pass inside to Meister from Moore McNeil, and Lily Meister will head to the line.
Yeah, now Indiana's offense is starting to figure it out a little bit too. Sometimes that defense leads to offense. Not necessarily anything in particular, but just the confidence of one side leading to another. And, if you're going to front a post player like Meister, the defense has to be way quicker than that, rotating around. And they did not get there in time.
Lily Meister averaged just shy of 4 points a game last season. Now she is close to 11 a game, as she has 13 already today. She's taken over as IU starting center and has done a pretty good job with it. In the Harvard game that this team lost, second game of the season, she was the standout in that game, scoring a career-high 20 points.
Everyone talks about the points and the scoring that you lose from Mackenzie Holmes, but another big thing is the rebounding. A lot of people thought that was going to be a question mark too, and Meister, once again, is the one that has to step up in that area, and she's done that as of late.
Meister splits the pair of free throws, and the Hoosiers lead it by 22. They kick it to the other side to Olivia Rockwood, and Rockwood knocks down her second three today.
Yeah, we talked about she needs that. Maine needs that to get back into this game. Quick passes, and they especially like that too because it's quick in the shot clock. Doesn't take much time.
Meister attacking again, and she'll take another trip to the line.
Yeah, good job. After that last possession, they didn't want to front her this time, and Meister's skilled enough offensively that if she gets the ball with her back to the basket, there aren't a lot of defenders that can, stop that on a consistent basis. Sometimes you have to foul.
So Meister, the junior from Minnesota. Her brother's on the Minnesota basketball team right now. Lincoln, a 6'9" forward. As she has just gotten better year after year in her time in Bloomington.
A lot of height in that family.
Yeah, for sure. Parents both played basketball at South Dakota State, so when your parents are D1 athletes and then you can become a D1 basketball player as well, you and your brother, there's athleticism running through the genes. Maine has it here with Sarah Hodgson up to Boardman. Now back to Hodgson. She gets fouled up top by Yarden Garzone. Ben, this Maine team takes 27 threes a game. They've only attempted 14 so far today. Usually almost half of their shots are threes, but only 14 of their 39 attempts today have been from deep.
Well, I think there's a couple different things. They try to get inside here. I think to start, they were getting a lot of good looks in the paint in the first half. So it's like they take more of those and they want to take threes. And then Indiana started to get consistent at guarding both the paint and the three-point line. How about Rockwood getting the roll there too? That's 2 in the last couple possessions for her.
Lead is back down to 18 for the Hoosiers with the shot clock off for this final possession of the quarter. Chesky over to Jules Lamandola. Here's Chloe Moore McNeil going straight to the lane again and drawing another foul on the Black Bears.
Yeah, I just like the way Indiana's attacked and not slowed things down, even, extending this lead, keeping the foot on the gas. Chloe Moore McNeil, once again, even if you're not seeing it on the stat sheet, which you are today, it's just the energy she brings. It's contagious to the whole team.
Moore McNeil knocks down her first free throw. It's her first of the game. She came into today shooting 80% at the line. She makes both, and she has 22 away from tying her career high. As the half-court heave, too strong that time from Sarah Talon, and Indiana heads to the break with a 61-41 lead, taking full control of this game here in the third quarter. Key performances, and we see the two new marquee schools in this conference, man, UCLA and USC, projected to be number 1 and 2 in the conference.
Yeah, Juju Watkins, we know what she can do with USC. One of the best teams in the country, obviously. UCLA is another one of the teams with USC coming in that's going to be overlooked a little bit. But I think of all the sports that gets improved with those 4 schools entering, I think women's basketball might be at the top.
Of course, the Bruins upset South Carolina last week and broke up their long winning streak, which dated back to the spring of 2023 when Iowa beat South Carolina in the Final Four back then. We mentioned it earlier, this Hoosiers team had their season ended last year by the Gamecocks in a 4-point game in the Sweet 16. Here's Caroline Boardman going up for the shot and unable to hit. But yeah, in the last few seasons, the Big Ten has really become a powerhouse in women's basketball. Not considered that traditionally, but between Indiana, Iowa, Ohio State, and now adding those 2 teams from Cali and even Oregon as well, this conference has really gotten a lot better.
Yeah. And I think too, it's a big time for the conference to get better with some of these Big Ten teams taking maybe a little step back from years prior.
Another 3 goes down for Indiana. That time it's Chase Chesky hitting her second of the day. Now Chesky's guarding Sarah Hodgson up top and is called for the bump.
Obviously with Iowa losing Caitlin Clark, they take, a massive step back, maybe a bigger step back than anyone. And that's not to say how not great they'll be this year, but it's more of how great they have been in years prior. Indiana is in that boat as well. Going to take a little step back.
But the Hawkeyes are 8-0 so far, Ben.
That's true.
And they didn't even go 8-0 with Caitlin Clark on the team ever.
Yeah, that was their best start since, I forget what that number was.
It was 05, 04, 05.
Yeah, something like that. I'll tell you what, Lisa Pluter gone as well. We talk about Caitlin Clark. We talk about the coach behind that as well.
As another foul is called on IU on the inbound, and this conference is just very, very deep. I mean, I didn't even mention Maryland there. They're always around.
Ohio
Illinois
State's
is off to a
always
good
around.
start this season, but there's a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
And Indiana will start Big Ten play 6 days from today, where they'll head to Penn Station. It'll be a return game for Shea Chesky, who has the ball now.
That's going to be exciting. We just showed up there the performance that Gracie Merkel had. 31 points, 11 rebounds, and a double-double against Drexel. They can play tough down low. That's going to be one of the toughest tests all season for some of these post players for Indiana and Lily Meister and Caroline Strickland.
It's been a choppy start to this quarter. After that first half, felt like we almost saw no fouls.
Yeah.
We've had kind of 3 back-to-back here to start the third quarter.
Yeah, Maine started to get used to these underneath out-of-bounds plays for Indiana. That's actually 2 in this happened in the last few minutes of the third quarter, and now they've just anticipated passes. Gearzone was maybe staring down too much.
There she goes. She inbounds that time straight to Lily Meister, who is right at the hoop for the lay-in.
Oh, good job adjusting by Terry Board on that one.
Indiana now leading by 25, their largest lead today. For this Maine team, they're just looking to find their offense again after scoring 13 in that third quarter. Hodgson has it in the corner. Chesky harassing her. But then Chesky is called for another one of those fouls, guarding the perimeter.
I know we talked about this earlier on the broadcast, how great of a cause that Indiana wearing their red uniforms at home is going to support the battle of ALS. And On top of it, I know a lot of people love the classics, but I am a sucker for a good primary color on primary color contest. A nice red versus blue.
I was going to actually ask you about that, Ben, because it's a new thing. It's something that we didn't really see before 3 or 4 years ago, I'd say,
it is.
In sports in general, everywhere. And now we see it pretty often. And
especially
I think I'm with you.
Especially the NBA and WNBA right now, too. You're seeing it so much.
As nice scoop layup that time for Caroline Dotsie. But it's this new age, the home team doesn't have to wear white every game like we kind of got accustomed to. And now we see these teams kind of mix it up. IU doesn't do that very often, but a couple times a year they have some sort of alternate uniform for some cause or some other reason. And this is one of those days. Garzone wild layup attempt doesn't fall, but it's last touched by the Black Bears, so Indiana keeps possession.
I think Indiana's going to do it probably less than most.
So we have a trivia question here. And the question, Ben, neither of us know the answer. Which Bob Knight student is the only coach to suffer a loss to Maine in the NCAA tournament?
So we're saying Bob Knight student here. So not like player, like a Bob Knight student. Because I did hear he taught basketball classes here at Indiana.
He sure did. I don't know the answer. I know when Maine won their only.
I feel like I only have one guess.
I know when Maine won their only game in the NCAA tournament. That was in 1999. And, that was in 1999. I don't have the team, but I also have a guess. What's yours? I'm
going to go Tara Vanderveer is the only women's college basketball coach that I could think of that would be a student of Bob Knight that went to Indiana. Obviously, that wouldn't be clarified as maybe a player of Bob Knight. So Tara Vanderveer has to be my answer.
I had the same answer. Vanderveer, who just retired this spring. Not sure if that's the answer or not. We'll find out soon. But, this Maine team has made the NCAA tournament 10 times, and they're 1-10 in those games. So they've only won one. And I should have wrote down in my notes who they lost to. That would have who they beat.
That would have been too easy.
I know.
You would have been given the answer.
I knew. Maybe I knew writing down my notes that I was going to have to be tested on it. As Meister with the stuff of Sarah Talent. Chesky in transition fires away off the mark, but Meister tracks it down after getting the block up to Lamandola. Chesky's open again, but she'll pull it out and restart the offense.
Yeah, I like that. A lot of times, the analytics say the best three-pointers to take is off of an offensive rebound.
Well, McNeil ends up taking one from deep.
Yeah.
And then she finds Hannah Sandvik wide open near the rim.
What I was trying to get at is that if there is a scenario to not take it and really take time off the shot clock, it's in a situation like this where you're up by a lot and you want to just take time off the clock. And what do you know? They get another offensive rebound and find a nice open cutter on the baseline.
25-point lead for IU as Dotsie drains another three. She has 13 points, back-to-back games in double figures for Caroline Dotsie after she had never done so in her first season in 6 games.
That's a nice development for Maine heading forward. They start American East play decently soon, is just to have as many options as humanly possible.
Chesky falls short on the mini J. Here's Dotsie again going to work against Lily Meister. She beats her to the other side of the hoop.
Yeah, I think Meister looks maybe a little tired right now when Dotsie has that extra step. And we talked about how big that is for Maine. Adriana Smith being out, we talked about that a lot. Also, Maddie Fitzpatrick was expected to be a big part of this Maine team as only a freshman. She was a 2-time Maine High School Player of the Year, but she goes down with injury as well. She'll be out.
So Indiana scores again, and they lead this one by 22, 70-48 here. Stay with us as we'll have the answer to our trivia question on the other side of the break on Big Ten Plus. Back here where Indiana has the big lead on Maine midway through the fourth quarter alongside Ben Howler. I'm Zion Brown as Riley Stark is roaming the sidelines for us today as well. As we go back to our trivia question, Ben, we were right. Tara Vanderveer is the only former Bob Knight student to lose a game to Maine in the NCAA tournament. It came in 1999, as I mentioned before the break. And Amy Vachon, Maine head coach, was actually the starting point guard on that team when they won that game.
I told you, Vachon is this Maine program. I mean, they are so fortunate to have her. They love having her, but I'll tell you what, 1 for 1, might have to roll this talent into Thursday night Buffaloes.
Vachon scored 11 points in that game, and she's the all-time leading assister in this program's history and in the history of the American East Conference. It's been over 2 decades later, and no one has surpassed her.
And, a lot of times it's no surprise. A lot of times the best coaches are the ones who played point guard in their careers.
Terry Morin as well was a guard at Purdue, Indiana's biggest rival.
Yeah.
And now she has come over and built this program up. Hoosiers forced another turnover there. Maine now has 13 as we see Sandvik knock down the 2-point jumper.
Yeah, nice look for Sandvik. This is an Indiana team that shoots more mid-range shots than most, and they have a lot of players that can knock them down. But it's big. You don't get a lot of minutes to come off the bench and just be able to knock down a shot like that.
Dotsie has it for Maine. To J.C. Christopher. Dotsie flat on that 3. And Lamondola gets it for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, if you're Indiana right now, it's that time of game where you're kind of content just taking time off the clock.
But they quickly do find Sandvik, who doesn't hit the layup but gets her on board. Chesky to Garzone. Swinging it around this zone. Garzone tries a 2 from a similar spot that Sandvik just hits from.
And Indiana takes a lot of time in the shot clock. That's something that they weren't doing in the first half, and usually that's a negative thing, but in the first half they weren't doing that because they had so many good looks early in the shot clock. So you can't be too upset with it.
This Maine offense has only scored 20 points in this second half after it was an 8-point game at the break. As here's a wild shot from Caroline Boardman. She just had to force it up with the shot clock going down, and that'll be a 30-second violation.
Yeah, I really like the job that Indiana's done on Boardman today. We talked about how tough of a matchup she is, how quick she can be using that size and getting down low, but Indiana's played her well.
The Hoosiers bring on Valentina Kadlikova from the Czech Republic and Faith Wiseman, a fellow Indiana native, as they start to empty out the bench with this win secured. They try to feed Wiseman down low, and she's fouled.
Yeah, it's nice to get some of these guys some minutes. And so many great things about a blowout win like this. Analytics has become such a big part of the college basketball selection committee these days, and getting that big margin of victory cannot hurt.
Charnice Curry-Jelks into the game as well for the first time today. And for the first time this year, Ben, the Women's Tournament and Selection Committee will be using a quad system. So it will be interesting to see how they kind of go about that and how that is used when it comes to comparing resumes. It's been used for, I would say, about a decade on the men's side, and now the women are following suit.
Very mixed reviews about it on the men's side, I think, but I think it's just used as kind of a sorting tool. It's not the end-all, be-all for a lot of teams, but it can give you a pretty good idea.
Deep 3 drilled that time by J.C. Christopher. She has 7 points today. Christopher is mainly a 3-point shooter, but she's actually shot 2 from deep in this game, as Sandvik's pass is wayward but knocked out of bounds by Maine. This Maine team will continue playing in Indiana. They'll head to Purdue on Wednesday, and the Hoosiers will host another Indiana team, Southern Indiana, here on Wednesday night, as Morin has to take a timeout to prevent a 5-second violation. But Both these teams looking to shore up some things. The Hoosiers, we mentioned already, but they play at Penn State 6 days from today to start Big Ten play, and that's a Penn State team that, you know, is really good, a pretty good offense usually. They can shoot the ball really well, and we saw them earlier today. They just play good basketball.
Yeah, we've seen it for a couple of these really good Indiana teams, how it's caused some problems. It feels like they always play this game at Penn State in December. And that first conference game, sometimes you just never know what to expect. But you get a couple of bye games in between that and your next Big Ten game they play Wisconsin.
As we look at Maine, they're in the second game of a 4-game road trip right now. They'll take about a month off from playing a home game. Their last home game was on November 24th. And as you see right there, they won't play at home again until December 21st. So you can learn a lot about yourselves being on the road that long and having to go against teams and their environments.
You got to just think the travel's tough
Yeah.
for Maine. There's only one direction to go. I mean, it's tough for a lot of teams, especially Indiana, now being in the Big Ten, having to go all different directions. But Maine, they really can only go one direction.
From Orono, Maine, it's hard to get to airports and whatnot sometimes in areas like that, as we see Bargesser hit the layup through contact.
I would assume that they're not going back to Maine before their contest on Wednesday in 3 days with Purdue. But, yeah, how about Alexis Bargesser? I mean, I've liked a lot of these plays from some of the Indiana role players. They've just been strong today. The finishing down low is something that's improved throughout the game.
Bargesser, we mentioned it, missed the first 4 games this year with a foot injury and returned in the Bahamas. That was her first bucket today. She's now 0 for 3 at the charity stripe in this game.
Yeah, something to clean up. Free throw shooting has been a problem at points, but it hasn't been anything detrimental for Indiana so far. So it's not anything, you know, crazy urgent, but.
Well, Bargesser shot 5 of 6 at the line of the Bahamas. Maybe she just needs to always be in a ballroom.
Maybe not in the country.
Here she is in transition, going behind the back and scoring.
I mean, it actually is an interesting point. A lot of times, like, players struggle with that ballroom setting just because of the lighting and the depth perception, those kinds of things. That's a serious thing for shooters. But Bargesser liked it.
Another Maine turnover as the Hoosiers a minute and 23 away from wrapping up this win to go to 5-3 on the season. Bargesser into the corner. Sandvik rims out on the long ball. Faith Wiseman gets it and misses. And then Curry Jelks was the last to touch it. Wiseman still searching for her first points in an IU uniform. That was actually her first field goal attempt. She played a couple games earlier this season, but didn't shoot the ball in those contests.
Yeah, it takes some of these people a lot of time to get accustomed to what a real game speed is like. And sometimes you underestimate it a little bit.
Wiseman, the true freshman from Martinsville, Indiana, just north here of Bloomington. As Charnice Curry-Jelks comes away with the rebound. Wiseman again down low, can't hit again. This time she gets her own board, but has it stripped by Christopher. That might just be butterflies, Ben.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it's a good drop step. Nice move by Wiseman getting down low. But I think when all is said and done, her teammates are to give her a rough time about that, jokingly. She'll get her first points in IU uniform at some point. But I think Indiana's just going to dribble this one out.